It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Vinny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
And that's what we do, man. That's what we say every day, every week. Cast Talk Wednesday in here. Terry, TB Brown, Vinny Hardy in here. Happy Wednesday evening to everybody. What's up, TB? How we doing, man?
As I told you before we got on, I had a little dental surgery today, so I may be slurring my words a little bit. I may be sounding like Coach O when I get out. Well, the guys and the things and the on the bayou. But other than that, I'm doing good, man.
Oh, good stuff, man. Good stuff.
I'm ready. I got my official. It's January, February, Kentucky, April. And just letting folks know, because you got a lot of these fans, we're not new to this. We're true to this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I call it March is Kentucky time, because when it comes to it, ain't nobody been to more tournaments, won more tournament games, been to more Elite Eights. And only one team's got more championships than Kentucky. So I can call it Kentucky time. So
it
there
is.
you go.
Replace March with Kentucky. If y'all don't know, now you know. For everybody that's been listening, y'all been knowing for a minute. Everybody watching, y'all just learned. If you didn't know, TB shirt, that's the mentality of Kentucky. That's how we feel. If y'all are watching on Roku, I'm representing the BS3 on Roku, so y'all can type that into the search, BS3 TV. Y'all can find us. Appreciate you listening. If you're listening and never watched, you got Roku devices, type in BS3 TV, and then y'all can watch us or keep listening like you have. We appreciate it. Follow us at our Twitter handles right there, tbrown_80, at Vinny Hardy, at Cats Talk Wednesday on Facebook and Twitter. Speaking of March, the Kentucky women started the month off right, to Terry's
point. Let's talk about it, yeah.
So bringing that SEC tournament championship back to Lexington, taking out number one South Carolina in the final after dispatching Tennessee. I live outside Knoxville, y'all. If y'all don't know about that, I live outside Knoxville. Led wire to wire against Tennessee, never trailed. Dispatched LSU before that, and Mississippi State before that. 4 games in 4 days. For now, the win streak is at 10 in a row. A few weeks ago, they were 9-11, and everybody was like, "Kyra Elzy got to go." And look, I don't mean to brag, but one thing we don't really do on here is kind of like panic and get our drawers in a wad about the least little thing. When it comes to recruiting, or when it comes to Kyra Elzy, who's only in her second full year, facing adversity, and people were wanting to run her out of town. When, let's be real, Coach Mitchell faced adversity and turned it around, and he was a lot more experienced as a head coach than Kyra Elzy was. He was way more than 2 years in when he had his stuff, fixed it, and got back good. And now she had a little stuff, had some suspensions, had some health issues, had Dre Edwards. Brian Howard got suspended in year 1, the super duper star. So they had some little button up some heads, like happens from time to time. Put all that in the back burner and made this run to the chip, taking out Aaliyah Boston and Don Staley and the 29-1 South Carolina Gamecocks along the way.
Absolutely. We talked at the time. The women, the UK women, they started off real good, and then they hit a real bad spot. They had some folks suspended. Got to remember they lost Blair Green in the off season as a rotation player. They were playing a lot of games with like 7 or 8 scholarship players, if that. So they just went through a rough patch. And you and I talked about it some weeks ago. People wanted her gone. I tweeted a tweet that got some traction after the championship game. Like, I found a picture of a crow And I said, some folks need to eat this. And, you know, I'm not one of those people to pull up old tweets and all this kind of stuff. But as my dad used to say, you praise and you condemn at the same volume. So if you were standing on your soapbox saying she need to go, then you need to also get on your soapbox and say, look at this amazing job she did. Because this team was dead in the water. You know, the most recent comp I could have would be for the 2014 men's team. The only difference was during those rough patches, there were flashes, right? Julius Randle was he was a beast consistent throughout. The team just couldn't gel. This team looked bad. The women's team this year just looked bad. Yeah. And you had to be thinking, even if they get these players back, you know, because like anything else, the SEC is brutal. When you just route off all the teams they had to beat in 4 days, that's a who's who. You know, Tennessee is not the Tennessee of old, but Tennessee is still Tennessee.
Yeah.
You know, LSU, you know, when we talk about kind of brand names in college basketball, women's college basketball, Mississippi State has been to a Final Four in a championship game of recent vintage. All those teams have.
Kim Mulkey left Baylor to take the LSU job.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it was a great weekend. It started off with the gymnastics team beating LSU for the first time ever. And for folks that don't know, when it comes to gymnastics, Alabama, LSU, they're multiple time national champions, multiple time. And Friday evening, the gymnastics team kicked off, beating LSU at LSU, which again, that's huge. That's huge. And then it just kept rolling. The women by that point were getting ready to size up Tennessee on Saturday. Sized up Tennessee. The men went down to Florida, a place where, you know, I know they won 4 straight, but for a while there, it was a little janky going down to Florida. I remember some of those lean years going down to the O-Dome. But it was it's always a great day or a great time to be a Wildcat. But this was a really great weekend. And watching that women's game, the women's games, I caught most of them. You know, they just played hard, and it's hard to not get into kind of these cliches. They just wanted it more, but they just hunkered down, played like they didn't have anything to lose. And we were on the Spaces last night, and Van was talking about it. There's that moment when you kind of look around, if you're Kentucky, like, we can beat these people. We can beat these ladies. Like, we can beat Tennessee. We can beat South Carolina. Because his point was the last game they lost was a close one to South Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we know close only counts in horseshoes and grenades. But you can still take away and say, if they're the best in the country, we hung with them. Okay. And you can use that as a springboard. And it looks like that's what the ladies have done. To go from unranked to their number 16. I know they'll be on the road most likely to start the tournament, but after watching what Kentucky did, would you want to play them?
Yeah.
Right now, they've got confidence. There's that video I think that the official women's account put out yesterday of syncing it up with the call on the radio, and Elsie, she broke down the play exactly how it went.
Yeah.
If you could follow what she was saying in that huddle, it went that way, and Kentucky hit the shot. It was almost like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that can happen when everybody's on the same page and everybody's believing in what they're doing. And right now, because it's not just Ryan Howard.
No. Yeah.
It's not just a one woman show. You've got a lot of ladies. Treasure Hunt playing well. Edwards, you know, she hit the big shot, but she had some bumpy roads this year.
Yeah.
And so it's hard not to watch these videos and the post-game videos and the shot. And Coach Elsie made it on to Good Morning America. Robin Roberts of Sports Illustrated, but she used to be on Sports Center ESPN talking about that winning feeling in Kentucky. So I watch it. I got emotional, man. You know, I talk about all the time. I joke with the wife, and I'm like, sports really is dumb when you look at it. There's no stakes to winning and losing except this kind of performative kind of thing. However, I'm still involved in sports, and there are moments where, like I said, I'm always proud to be a Wildcat, but those young women did us all proud this weekend down in Nashville. And Coach Cal was there.
Yeah.
And it was fun watching him as a fan cheer and hoot and holler. And it goes back to when we had former assistant AD Dwayne Peavy on a couple of times. And he talked about the culture that Mitch Barnhart is building at the university. We're about championships and titles, but also there's that family. It's not just Coach Cal over here and you got Mark Stoops over here. It's everybody pulling for everybody, and that's what really makes what's going on special. I know a lot of folks don't like Mitch because of the checkerboard, because there's no alcohol at Kroger Field. However, from swimming and diving last year winning the SEC to the women's basketball team winning the SEC, baseball's off to a really good start, took care of ranked TCU last weekend. So the point is, you can not like him for the superficial stuff, but to quote Herm Edwards, you play to win the game. And right now, you've got a lot of the Kentucky programs firing on all cylinders, whether it's football doing things we haven't seen. I mean, 2 10-win seasons in the last 4 years and only one in the previous 40. Like, there's something going on in Lexington. And as a Kentucky fan, I'm excited about it.
And like, I forget what show Kyra Elsley was on, but she said in breaking down the play, we knew they were going to come off on Ryan. When she curled around to the corner, they doubled and went with her. So it was like she already knew what Staley was going to do. Robin Benton, you mentioned, Massengale, Edwards hit the shot. And Edwards, who has had to run in, has been suspended a couple times, and she even said it. Well, we bumped heads, but we were able to get through it. We came through this adversity. From Compton, went to Utah originally. I didn't know this, and was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Year out there before coming to Kentucky. So the talent was there, and like you said, Kentucky just didn't have anything to lose. Still undersized, giving up size and height. Because, South Carolina had girls 6'5", 6'6". Tennessee had a big front line. And, Edwards is only 6'2", kind of like Ryan Howard. And she went right at her, got her shot blocked a couple times, went right back at her. They call it a big dog, move over Vince Marrow, but there's another big dog.
That's right.
That's the way she played. She wasn't backing down. She didn't give an inch. Aaliyah Boston, you the player of the year, you this, you that. I'm here, and you got to deal with me. And she dropped 27 in that fourth quarter. But South Carolina went the last 4 or 5 minutes. They didn't get a bucket.
Yeah, it was just toughness, and I hate to get into that coach speak, but it was want to. How bad do you want this? And sometimes, like, I don't want to get into the Skip Bayless of these guys with this will to win, but sometimes it absolutely. Do you want to do this? Do you want to put this work in? And that's what made this team special. Undersized, probably under-talented. Like, I love the ladies, but if you look at the rosters of the teams they beat, outside of Ron Howard, if you're drafting, when's the next Wildcat going to get drafted? But the fact is, they believed in what Coach Elsie was doing. That tough love turned the season around. And so I don't know what will happen in the tournament, but if they can get 1 or 2 wins, this is a step forward for the program.
For sure.
It's going to be tough, but what they already did was tough.
Yeah. And and what they went through before they did what they did was tough. So as far as being battle tested goes, you won't find many more battle tested in this team.
Right. Right. And that's the thing too, is to get to this stuff is hard, right? When you're playing 30 games, like this stuff, even if your team is really, really good, there's moments where you got to fight through some things. Tony Delk has talked about, that 96 year. Yeah, they won 28 games, whatever it was. I can't remember now. But, not every night things are going to break your way. Like, you got to really fight through some things and bring that with you to the postseason. So I think the women's team, I think they've got that juice. First SEC tournament championship since '82. Yeah. And knock wood, what happens down in Tampa, Kentucky have the opportunity to do something that only Georgia has done, and that's have men and women SEC tournament champions in the same year.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Friday night, it was 8:30 Eastern time, 7:30 your time.
Yeah.
The Cats get it going against what's the bracket potentially?
It's the winner of Alabama, but it's Georgia and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
And then Alabama gets that winner, and then Kentucky gets the winner of that game.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about the men's team, obviously Oscar Tshiebwe, player of the year, the SEC. I mean, that was a foregone conclusion. The craziest thing to me is he's only number 17 of SEC players of the year for Kentucky,
mm-hmm.
which Tennessee's got 11. So when you, yeah, I know.
Bernard King, Allen Houston,
Grant Williams. So the point is, when you look at how dominant Kentucky is or has been, the SEC player of the year really hasn't been there.
It's not proportionate to the.
No, but because you have a lot of years like 2015 where Kentucky's beating everybody's brains in, and everybody balances each other out, and Bobby Portis wins it. So it wasn't no strange thing, but SEC. And the strangest thing is Cal's had 6.
A third of them.
Yeah, Tshiebwe, and you got Ulis, you got Monk, you got, of course, Anthony Davis, you got John Wall, and I'm missing somebody. But he's got 6.
PJ didn't win it, did he?
No, I have to Google. I should have had that ready for him, but the bulk of them have come in the last 10 years. It's like we've been beating everybody's brains in. But anyway, it has to be Oscar. His all SEC player of the year. Different publications are already coming out with him being player of the year, All-American, the Sporting News and Sports Illustrated. He's got to be. I don't know if he'll sweep them all, but he's going to get the big ones with what he's been able to do.
Absolutely. I'm gonna put out a poll right now. If y'all follow us on at Cats Talk Wednesday TV, because what's more ludicrous, the fact that and what it pertains to Oscar, the fact that he was not initially able to receive NIL due to being a foreign student, or the comments that Bob Huggins said about him not working hard and all that. Which one of those situations was dumber?
Well, so about the Bob Huggins thing, I tweeted this out and I had a lot of some pushback. Bob Huggins is a Hall of Fame coach. Like, he's not in there yet, but he's going to be. Bob Huggins has been very, very good to great for a long time. But this is just a bad look. All he needs to say is it just didn't work. Oscar at West Virginia just didn't work. But when you kind of hammer home the point that this dude doesn't want to work, and we're all watching with our own eyes, the math ain't mathing.
You're a coach that's supposed to be able to have an eye and see stuff, and you keep saying this.
and so I think we talked on here when Oscar was coming out with those ridiculous 20 rebound efforts. Okay, at some point, teams are going to scheme for that, right? Like, he's going to have one guy on him, and when the ball goes up, they're going to put 2 guys on him. They did that. Like, Everything you could think of to neutralize a great rebounder, they did, and he's still putting up rebounds. He's still grabbing boards like that. So this is one of the most amazing seasons I've ever seen.
Absolutely. Still there, T?
Yeah, I'm here. Are you here?
Yeah.
Excellent. But Oscar, player of the year, first team, all SEC with 9 guys on it, which is always weird. And then Severe and Ty on the second team. And they just missed time. And I get that. Them being on the second team. But again, it goes back. You look at all SEC, it's not really as proportionate as you might think. I mean, Kentucky's got the most. Don't get me wrong, but when you've been dragging the SEC for as long as we have, you would think there would be a little bit more.
Like Kareem in Airplane, dragging Walton and Lanier up the court for 48 minutes.
Tell your old man to do that 48 minutes now. But the UK Invitational down there in Tampa, there's no team I'm scared to play. We talked about this on Spaces. I've seen people tweet about it. At some point, we got to pretend that Kentucky basketball is actually pretty good. Right. And,
So I just said right. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. At some point, we've got to pretend that. And I've told some of the youngsters, you don't get to 8 NCAA titles. You don't get to 17 Final Fours, I think, 36 Elite Eights. You don't get those numbers without kicking a lot of ass. Like that doesn't just happen. Matt Sack, who we had on the show, I guess a month or so ago, talking about who we need to play, who we match up, and I like from the Watchmen movie. I know you're not a movie guy, but Rorschach, one of the heroes, gets locked in jail, and they're in jail and they're gonna fight him, and he whoops some butt, and he says, "Oh, you think I'm locked in here with you? No, you are locked in here with me." So it's not about who Kentucky got to play; it's who's got to play Kentucky. That's the point.
That's it.
And Auburn fans, I'm happy for you. A lot of success. But as I was watching Florida flail around when the time was running out toward the end there in Gainesville, Florida used to be national championship good too. And now it's a poverty program.
That is true. And this is unpopular, and we got our guest in the green room too.
Oh, okay. We got to bring him on.
We on Roku and stuff now, so we got green room stuff.
We fancy.
But this is not popular, but Lance Ware, when I first saw him, like, he can do whatever he wants. I ain't got no problem with it. But I got a little bit of a Joakim Noah vibe when I saw the little ponytail. I was like, oh. I took it off. I was like, do what you want, Lance, but making me think of Joakim. But then, but just for a minute. We got to bring our guest in. This man drops knowledge everywhere. Came on here and dropped knowledge. Came on here and talked about Kentucky football was going to win 10 games before it actually happened, before you and I were really even kind of comfortable believing it. This man,
I was lukewarm on it, baby.
I know, and because he saw it. He's a programming director for Sports Radio American Network. He hosts the College Credit Hour, Football Writers Association voter. This man does it all. Goes to bowl games, covers bowl games. Been here, done that, done it all. Here with us again. Should have been had him on here. Excuse my English. Should have been had him on here way before now. Talking about our guy, Memphis Spence. Man, welcome back in here, Memphis. How you doing?
What a pleasure it is to be on with the legendary Vinny Hardy and the legendary Terry Brown. Terry, you a little cold right now, though, man. I started looking out at some of your posts, man. You a little cold right now, bruh.
Yeah, what's colder than being cold? The upper Midwest. That's what's colder than being cold. All respect to Andre 3000. It stays cold and snowy here, but we doing good.
Yeah, no doubt. I like what you said, though. It's about, they in here with us. Somebody's got to play Kentucky. That's not a good, that's not going to be fun, whoever it is.
And that's the thing. that always gets me about Kentucky fans. It's a mixture of an inferiority complex and a superiority complex. Like, we'll tell you, Vinny's got the poster behind him that's got all the accolades. Like, we'll tell you about it, but then we'll still be scared that we got to go play somebody. And I'm like, we got an Oscar Shibwe. Like, we got the National Player of the Year. Why are we scared?
Wait a minute. Kentucky fans do know that the last time you had the National Player of the Year, you won the championship, right? I mean, I don't have to come on here and tell you guys that.
All right? 5 starters average double figures. The last time that happened, like, come on, man. Like, look at our history. Like, Memphis, you was on the Spaces last night. And folks, they love to bring up, like, the losses, right? 2015, all this kind of stuff. My point, Vinny, was we are so good that for other programs, 2015 would have been devastating. Like, you look at, like, a St. Joe's, with Jameer Nelson, they had that great run, but they got nothing to balance that out. We do. Like, right. We right back in it. We don't just gear up for the one generational Final Four run. It's like, it's been 5 or 6 years. It's time to get back. But go ahead, Memphis. I'm sorry. You the guest, and I'm doing the talking.
Is that enough? Because sometimes, I mean, something I took from the Spaces last night, I was just like, man, have you ever seen, like, just it feels like the Kentucky fan base is rich and they don't know it.
Yes.
It's just like they're tripping over money. And I'm like, man, pick some of that up, dog. Enjoy having the National Player of the Year. Everybody, look, I wrote down who the National Players of the Year for the last 10 years are, right? Let me read them off to you. Luka Garza at Iowa, Obi Toppin, Dayton, Zion Williamson, Duke. They couldn't win a championship with him. Jalen Brunson, Villanova. Frank Mason, Kansas. Buddy Hield, Oklahoma. Almost, but they didn't win a championship. They got a Final Four, no championship. Frank Kaminsky, Wisconsin. Doug McDermott at Creighton. Trey Burke at Michigan. Did they win a championship? I don't know. Louisville doesn't have a banner anymore, so.
There you go.
But Anthony Davis, championship. Jalen Brunson and Anthony Davis are the last players of the year that have won a championship in the last 10 years. Kentucky and Villanova. I mean, we're not talking about a whole lot of other players. I mean, other programs that people are worried about. I don't see Auburn. I don't see any of these. I mean, we're talking about blue bloods mainly, or programs that have really strong basketball history. Kentucky fans just need to calm down.
Yeah.
You have a National Player of the Year. When teams have the National Player of the Year, there's only been a couple of teams, Creighton and Iowa, that have gone out in the second round. It's mostly Elite Eight, Final Four, and championships. So I'm expecting the same for Kentucky.
Yeah, it gets frustrating. If you're on the outside looking in, I'm on the inside looking at it like, why are we complaining about this?
Right.
I
said, it's like rich people that don't know that they're rich. I'm like, this is one of the best programs. Y'all are in here complaining like it's Memphis or something. We got a lot to complain about. We got you know what I'm saying? We up on charges. There's a lot that we got stuff to complain about. LSU. I was on a LSU show, AYS, yesterday. They got something to complain about. You know what I'm saying? We'll wait. We don't know what's going to happen. Probably a show cause coming down for him. Will they have to fire him? We don't know. There are programs that have something to complain about. The only thing that Kentucky has to worry about is whether or not they're getting a 1 or a 2. Those aren't problems.
And that's a year after the 9-win season. Like any other program has a 9-win season, they got to take 2, 3. You got to get 2 or 3 recruiting classes to get back. We were just like, all right, cool.
A new coach, 10. Seriously. You have a 9-win. Okay, now here's something I never looked up, but I can guarantee you that probably 95% of all D1 college basketball teams have fired their coach after a 9-win season, right? I mean, usually you don't have a guy that's already won a championship that just had a 9-win season. That normally doesn't happen. So most programs are it's not 2, 3. It might be 5, 10 years before they can rebuild that thing after a 9-win season. So there's nothing really to worry about in Kentucky. I think people people don't like Cal's bravado. You know what I'm saying? They don't like the way he does things. Same thing when he was in Memphis, it was some of the same stuff. You know, he brings in one of the top players. People still got problems with him. He starts, recruiting. Now we have like 4 or 5 NBA players. Yeah, but you didn't win a championship. Like, calm down. We were just, when was the last time Memphis was playing for a championship? Okay. That was before we were playing in the pyramid. Well, just have fun, even though we lost to Kansas, have fun, you know what I'm saying? With this, sometimes you have to calm down your fan base because they can't see the forest through the trees sometimes.
Yeah, you're talking about the Mid-South Coliseum days now.
Right.
With Dana Kirk and them. Let's bring it.
Right. You know about that.
You talking about 901, baby. You talking about 901. Hey, Memphis, I keep telling folks when it comes to college basketball rivalries, Louisville and Memphis State in the 80s was rough.
People don't know about that. The Metro Conference, people do not know about that. That was war. That was a real war.
Yeah, and then you throw Cincinnati in there, and it was Tulane was good. Don't get me talking about Weatherspoon down at Southern Miss. Woo!
Yeah.
Virginia Tech with Ace Custis and those
Virginia Tech, Florida State. There was it was popping.
South Carolina was in
South Carolina. It was popping back then, man. It was popping.
Yeah, there we go. Now, we dating ourselves though, when we talked about that old Metro Conference, kind of dating ourselves.
Well, it came, everybody got quiet in the spaces yesterday because you brought up, the time where Jordan wasn't winning. And people were like, what is this? And I was like, oh yeah, the time where he was losing to Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas. Oh, I remember.
Yeah, and so Vinny, we were segueing. We were talking about Coach K. We got to talk about that because that filled me with joy this weekend.
No doubt.
But I'm old enough to remember when Coach K couldn't win the big one. Like he went to like 4 or 5 straight Final Fours, and they were like, "Yeah, you can't do it." Because remember, UNLV beat their brains in the '90 champion. Like it wasn't even close. And everybody's like, "Look, that's a wrap. He ain't gonna get it done." At the same point, that's when Jordan was putting up these numbers, but the Bulls were getting beat by the Pistons in the first and second round. Yeah, and I remember, hey, Coach K can't win the big one. I remember when they said Jordan couldn't win and wouldn't win.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why you can't tell us.
Duke and Chicago started winning around the same time. I think Duke won their first championship in '91 in Chicago a couple of years before that. But yeah, I remember that. I remember the rhetoric. Hey, no, they're not. They're good, but they're not going to win the big one. I remember. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because Louisville beat Billis and them in '86. Because he'll say it on the air every now and then. Now talking about I ran into Purvis Ellison the other day, and I tell him he's wearing my ring.
Yeah,
because Louisville beat them, and Coach K, he talked about when he first got to Duke, and this was like a crack of humor from him. He actually made me chuckle. He said he was happy that North Carolina won it in '82 and NC State won it in '83. That took all the heat off of this guy. They couldn't pronounce his name, who's over here getting his brain beat in at Duke. Nobody was paying attention to him losing because everybody else on Tobacco Road was winning chips. So that, that's the glare off of him. So, yeah, and UNLV destroyed them, that first time around. So, yeah, he was kind of Peyton Manning. When will Coach K get it? When will he get over the hump? Blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm. No, that's right. That's right.
So Memphis, what is I want to get your thoughts on the Coach K, the farewell tour this whole season, and then what we saw on Saturday out of North Carolina.
So this year's been kind of weird because Coach K has constantly said, it's about the team. Don't make it about me. It's about the team, this, that, and the other. And they've had a fairly decent season. And then some, there's some articles written, oh, well, North Carolina didn't honor Coach K, when they played there. And I'm like, could you imagine like they're, Memphis honoring Louisville then? No, that's not how rivalries work. They might throw tomatoes at him or some, or pennies, but they're not going to honor him, right? They may give a standing ovation after the game, but a rivalry is a rivalry. And then, okay, you have your, Cameron Indoor, last game of the season. You scheduled, you knew North Carolina was on the schedule. You knew that was the last game of the season. You could have pushed the game. You could have pushed the award ceremony or whatever up or back. You chose to do it on that game. And I mean, how are you going to take, we're going to beat you and then we're going to honor our coach, right afterwards.
That's the mindset.
No, that's not going down. And North Carolina came in there loose. Like, what do we have to lose? Either we're just going to get humiliated in Cameron Indoor, or we can pull off one of the biggest upsets of the decade, if not the biggest, in the regular season. And they did just that. I don't know who scheduled that. That was probably, and I don't blame the kids at Duke. That was way too much pressure. You had like 94, 95 former players there. You had people flying in from LA. I mean, there was a whole lot of pressure. We're talking about, some 18, 19, 20-year-olds that all of a sudden they're looking up, oh man, there's Grant Hill. There's,
Adam Silver,
right,
Jerry Seinfeld.
Right. They're looking around at who's who. All of a sudden, they're, on the Lakers floor, basically. Because that's what somebody said. It was like, look, this is a crowd that you usually get for the Lakers. Just the who's who in the house, and tickets going for, $5,000, $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't blame them. They probably got a little starstruck. Moment was too big. What does Mr. Go 30 say? Moment too big, piss down your leg or something like that. So that happens, and especially at that level. So I don't blame them. And Coach Case came out and said it was unacceptable. Yeah, it was. But who scheduled that? Whoever scheduled that, I don't know if it was somebody in the athletic department or whatever. They've got to go, because you can't. The crying. I mean, North Carolina has a lasting memory of making the entire Duke crowd cry. On a celebration day. That's
better than the Stackhouse dunk. That's the best North Carolina memory ever.
Yes.
And this is what I said last night on the Spaces, Vinny. It reminds me, I was reading about, it was Bill Russell's last finals against the Lakers, Game 7 in LA. And Russell is beat down. The Celtics are old. Some of those Celtics greats had moved on. He's the player coach. He's tired. They go in, shoot around, and it wasn't the Forum, but wherever the Lakers were playing, they got the balloons, they got the streamers, they got everything ready to go in Game 7. And Bill Russell says, basically, bleep this, we're going to whip their ass. And he goes for like 20 points, 25 rebounds, and the Celtics win in Game 7. If you're Hubert Davis, you ain't got to do nothing.
No.
All you have to say, right, look, because it's not like it was NC State on the last game, or Virginia, or even Maryland, or, Miami, Florida. Like, we North Carolina. They doing us like this, and we got Michael Jordan. Like, they doing us like this. We got James Worthy. They doing us like, we North Carolina. That's all you got to say. And when they came out and Duke punched and North Carolina punched back, I said, oh, we got a game on our hands.
Right.
And like you said, Memphis, Duke got the lemon booty, and North Carolina's like, this is our 5. We running with it. And thank you, North Carolina, for giving us all the crying Duke memes and shots and everything.
Look, let me see here. They had 3 other home games in February that they could have done this in. They could have done this with Virginia, but that game was close too. The only one that, they actually lost that one by a point.
Yeah.
Wake Forest, they could have picked that one. You know what I'm saying? Florida State, Hamilton, Leonard Hamilton's having, a kind of off year. They should have picked that one. But, there could have been, they could have done this. They could have waited till, the season was over or whatnot. There could have been another time for them to actually do this. And whoever scheduled this, I don't know how you keep your job. Like, well, you look on your resume. Hey, okay, what was the last thing you did? Well, I scheduled the, Coach K, extravaganza on North Carolina Day. What? No, man, get out of here.
Could have done it Monday.
So yeah, that was probably the biggest fit. I had a lot of fun. As much as I don't know if I had as much fun as Maryland or Kentucky or North Carolina fans, but I was having a lot of fun drinking some of those Duke tears.
They could have done it Monday. They could have done it Monday because you're getting ready for the ACC tournament. The players are all probably not practicing that day. Just everybody come to the gym, have a little event, and have the same thing they had Saturday after the game.
Yeah.
On Monday, everybody would have took the day off or carved out time in their schedule to do it. The North Carolina loss would have been moved on from that and just been focused on commemorating our coach who's been here for 4 decades and blah blah blah.
I don't buy the talking heads of saying, this is the last thing Coach K wants. No, Coach K is a narcissist, and that's fine. Most big-time college basketball coaches are. We talked about Memphis. You talked about Calipari's bravado, Bill Self ain't exactly humble. I'm okay with that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But you can't say Coach K didn't want to do this when we literally saw Roy Williams be like, peace, and hit the door during the offseason. Like, there's a way you can do that. If you don't want all this hoopla, then you don't announce your final season and get all this, and you're demanding all these carve-outs and all these celebrations. Like, why would Maryland want to honor Coach K? Like, why would you want to do that? I remember Kareem's last year, and a lot of those presentations he got, it was awkward. Because I'm like, Kareem been beating these teams in. Now he's going to go to Boston and get like a rocking chair or something. Like, that doesn't work, right? It just, when it comes to coaches and the farewell tour, that turns me off. Now, as a Kobe fan, I like that one, but I'm biased when it comes to that. But Coach K, this is the last thing he wants to do. No, he doesn't. He wants the attention on him. Good, he's earned it, and he can have it. That's fine. But don't pretend like, oh shucks, they're making me do this. No, they're not. They twisting your arm.
My wife is from Tennessee. Grew up a Tennessee fan. She's converted over now, but she was,
Well, wait, hold up. How do you do that? Because I need to convert my wife from a Tennessee. She's a Tennessee Vols, especially women's basketball fan, and I'm trying to convert my wife, but I can't get. How did you do that, Vinny?
I just watching all the games like I do. When my father-in-law was still alive, it was the fun banter, the trash talk back and forth, and then she just slowly came right on over. She just kind of working stuff out, and
the Lord was working with her spirit.
So I was first of all, for the Duke Carolina game, I just I blacked out on all the coverage. I didn't really watch a lot of the hype leading up to it. So I was wrongly under the impression that it was going to tip at 8 in prime time. So I turned the TV on at 7 and it was halftime. I was like, oh, this thing started at 6. I thought I was going to catch 45 minutes of the, talking heads and blah, 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 lead on up into the 8 o'clock tip. So I turned on this halftime 2-point game. Oh, okay. And so immediately, my son, he's like, so we pulling for North Carolina? I said, yeah. I said, we dislike them less than Duke in this scenario. Absolutely.
It's always a learning moment with the kids. Like, kids, this is who we don't like right now. Like, let me break it down for you. There's a hierarchy to this. We always don't like Louisville, right? But when we take a step back, if this team plays this team,
that's
fandom.
I was breaking it down, and my wife was like, "Why you hate Duke so much?" And so I was telling her about the Leitner stuff, and I was, and of course that, sure, Kentucky's balanced it out since then, but that's hurtful because you had a bunch of kids from Kentucky. Leitner goes 10 for 10 from the field, 10 for 10 from the line. I know that stat line. I shouldn't. I spit that stat line out. Just like Terry spits out Jerry Wright's stats from Super Bowl 23 every other show.
11 catches, 215 yards, and a touchdown. He was Super Bowl 23 MVP in the 49ers 2016 win over the Cincinnati Bengals. But go ahead, Vinny.
he stomped on Timberlake's chest and got to stay in the ball game. Duke was unlikable before that because I was loving when UNLV beat the crap out of them in 1990. They were already unlikable. When they, he hits the shot to beat Kentucky after should have been ejected. That took your hatred up to them through the stratosphere. And plus, and Kentucky fans get a little delusional about we want a player from Kentucky. But that team, you had Mashburn, you had Sean Woods, you had dudes from Kentucky, Richie Farmer, Pelfrey, Feldhouse, a lot of them from Southeastern Kentucky, from where I'm from, white guys. And I'm just going to say it. 3 white dudes out there on the court with Kentucky across the chest playing against Duke. You can say it don't mean more, but it does. So that's why everybody is so much more bitter about that. And that's why we still kind of petty about lateness. So I'm trying to I'm throughout the second half. I'm telling my wife why, I hate all this, why we hate them so bad. I said, they're kind of preppy. They're kind of rich kids. That rich school that you didn't like when you was growing up? Yeah. I said, well, that's been Duke the whole time. She's like, oh, okay. I said, that's why you don't like Duke. That's why we're pulling from North Carolina. And then, so I come in on the second half and it's a game. Like you said, North Carolina done already punched back and here we go. And then they pull away. They separate. They run him off the floor in the second half. I mean, and so I'm telling her all this. Now the ceremony starts, and in Coach K fashion, classic Coach K fashion, this is impromptu. This is unacceptable. Everybody tries to clap and drown him out. I know. He pulls all y'all shut up so I can apologize about how unacceptable this is. Everybody be quiet. So that's he had to just boss everybody around and throw his weight around, even trying to apologize for unacceptable loss. Y'all shut your mouth so I can apologize for this butt whooping we just took from the Tar Heel. So I mean, that's it, man. That's it in a nutshell right there.
Oh man, good times. It was one of those classic times where you're like, is this real life? Did he just stop the proceedings to tell everybody in the gym to shut up?
Yeah.
To kind of throw the team under the bus. This is unacceptable. No, it's like, wow, this is classic Coach K.
Yeah.
That's stuff you say in the locker room. That's a locker room kind of stuff. Like, you still got to go coach these dudes. Like, you still got games to play, and you can't be talking about this is unacceptable, putting me on blast, and I'm still got to go out here. Like, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play.
CBS, or was it on ESPN or CBS? I forgot. But they panned over to the team. They had the towels on their head. They were like, he's just putting us on blast. We know the entire world's watching this. We just put us on blast like that. I was dying laughing. It was fun.
When North Carolina pulled away, I was straight Petey Pablo. I took my shirt off, spit it right there. I said, North Carolina, come on and raise up. All right.
Oh Lord, that's great. Hey, something last night, Terry, that I didn't know. Who was the last player hanging in the rafters at Rupp? Who was the last player?
It's Tony Delk was the last one to go up.
Delk was the last one.
Yeah, and from the 96 team. So basically, you're looking at the last 30 years of Kentucky basketball, 3 championships, other Final Fours, other SEC Players of the Year, and only one dude. Like that, and I hate to turn this into a North Carolina love fest like I did last night, but North Carolina basically, if you do X, you get
right.
This is how you get honored. You take all the everything out of it, because I mean they got Rashad McCants hanging up there, and I guarantee ain't too many North Carolina fans like we got he ain't got a lot of people in his corner, but it takes that emotion out of it. So it's in theory, in the next 5 years or so, maybe 10 years, it could still possibly be just Tony Delk. And we've got a backlog of dudes from the 90s, from the Tubby Smith era that deserve to be up there.
There's a lot of guys that I can think of. I mean, I'm just sitting there, it's like, is Jamal Mashburn up there?
Yes, it was Mashburn and then Delk and then nobody else. And somebody pointed out it took Tubby so long to get up. It shouldn't have taken him that long to get up there. So I don't know all the behind the scenes workings of that. But if we end up, in 10 years, if it's 2032 and it's still Tony Delka's the last one, then just bring it all down, shut it down.
Yeah.
Just shut it down. And I'm not saying you honor Aaron Harrison, although he gave us some great memories. Okay, you don't want to do that, but you got to have Bogans. You got to have Prince. You got to have Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis has got to. I'm sitting here just like, well, what are they waiting? This is year 10. What are they waiting for Anthony Davis for?
Well, my understanding is you've got to be away from the university. Is it 5 years, Vinny? I think it's 5 years you got to be away. Then you go into the Kentucky Athletics Hall of Fame. So of the Cal guys, you've got AD went in fairly recently.
Okay.
John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins. Now, after that is where it kind of becomes, okay, you're in the Hall of Fame, but what's that? Oh, people can't, the people listening can't see me doing my hands in this dramatic fashion. But
you can watch it on Roku TV.
Yeah, watch this on Roku and you'll see my hand gestures. But other than that, I don't know, because there's a lot of old folks that say, well, he was just one and done. But I'm like, he was kind of the one and done. And it's like the NBA at 50, the NBA at 75. Okay, are we looking at best players, or are we looking at these are the dudes that we need to recognize to tell the NBA story? For my money, Bob Cousy, if he played 10 years after he did, anytime after that, he ain't getting no run in the NBA. But you can still acknowledge what he did at that time, right?
Right.
There's some dudes you're like, okay, he wasn't all-time great, but we have to tell the Kentucky story. And I don't know how you do that without Anthony Davis. I don't.
You can't. I mean, honestly, I can't see how you do that. Walls and Cousins, Cousins and Wall, I think you can't. I would say that was the rebirth, right?
Yeah.
That was the rebirth of the story.
Yeah.
So you have to have them at some point in time. And then Anthony Davis is like a staple. It was a championship year.
Yeah.
So,
but they're old heads that just they're like one and dones. And I'm like, man, the world has changed.
Yeah.
And it's okay to acknowledge the world changed. I'm like,
is it that they were one and done? They were only there for a year? You can't.
Yeah. But the point I've made to people, I'm like, you look at the first 20 and or so, they played when it was segregated league. I mean,
I always have to tell people, and I remind them, guys, if you're counting, championships before 1970, might want to rethink that, because there's a lot of stuff that happened. The SEC started, kind of integrating right around there. And I can't tell you with all honesty that the best players were on the quarter of the field, So if I can't tell you that, then I don't know how serious you take those championships. You know what I'm saying? So,
when in Memphis, when integration happened in the SEC, Kentucky was first. We've had Mr. Nate Northern to come on and talk, and he's fantastic. Yeah. But the teams that bought in first stayed good. People forget, Ole Miss was really, really good, but they really like segregation. And so that's how you end up with Mississippi native Jerry Rice, Mississippi native Walter Payton not going to Ole Miss, right? So
that's right.
Marcus Dupree.
Right. They were into it. Because remember, they didn't take the Confederate flag away from the football games until we were in school. I remember that being a big deal. They really wanted to do it. Now, Alabama as a state may be on par with Mississippi with some of their beliefs. But when Bear Bryant got his brains beat in by Michigan State, he was like, we need some of those. We need some Negroes. Yeah. And so those teams that did that. And, we talked about Joe B. Hall being that guy for Kentucky. When we talk about the history of Kentucky basketball, and we did this when Coach Hall passed away, Coach Hall was that dude. Is this just going to be what Rupp built, or can we position toward the future? And the future is we got to get some of these Negroes to play. I mean, that's the bottom line. So if Hall doesn't make that pivot, then we are like all those teams that used to be good.
Yeah.
Leonard Hamilton's having an off year this year, but Joe Hall hired Leonard, and
Yeah.
then Ray Warford and Jack Givens and Marion
Yeah.
Haskins and all those guys that transitioned on into where it is now.
Yeah. So if you don't make that move, then you're like Ole Miss.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
So
TB, you talked about how we talked about the women's team winning the SEC championship before you came on, Memphis, beating South Carolina and all that. And TB said,
Congratulations about that too.
yeah, it was first time since '82, and just one of those sheer joy moments when you see down 15 in the second half and come back against Don Staley and that machine that she's got going on in South Carolina. TB said stuff gets you emotional, so I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about and of course Memphis, we had you on Talk Kentucky Football before. Chris Oates, who had a stroke a couple years ago, inside linebacker for Kentucky, stood up for the first time out of his wheelchair.
Wow.
We were on. You talk about something making you emotional, because this dude, Jamin Davis, who is with the Washington Commanders or whatever they are now, drafted in the first round, 19th pick overall. Because I was, as a Cowboys fan, I'm like, this was before I knew what Michael Parsons was about to do as a rookie. I'm like, what? We can just go and get Jamin Davis in here with Boss Man Fat and Quentin Bohannon and all that. That was my Cowboys bias. But Davis went to the Commanders and had a solid season, but he was behind Chris Oates on the depth chart. And he went 19th overall in the first round. So this young man is balling and has a stroke. And we've seen the university and Coach Stoops kind of do things to help his mom. And for us to you imagine, we got kids, I got kids, you got kids, TB. Just imagine your kids are healthy and then boom, they are not. And now they're just standing up is an achievement. And it took a lot out of him. He stood up and then he did it again. And he was exhausted. And this kid was playing high level SEC football a couple years ago. So you talk about getting a little dusty, boy, that,
Man, I that's fantastic. I didn't even know that happened. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, man, every day is a blessing, really, from God. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. All you can do is go out there and pray and have faith and hope for the best a lot of times. But the fact that he stood up, because there's a lot of people that they give up, right? And they're not even facing circumstances like that. But they give up and they don't work through those situations. But I'm not even watching it. You telling me that, man. I'm like,
yeah. I mean,
that's powerful, man. That's powerful.
He a couple years older than your daughter, 3, 4, 5, 6 years older than my oldest son, TB. So it just hits you.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you got kids of your own, and you see that kind of thing. It's and thank you for reminding me my daughters are getting older. I appreciate that. But
you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
And I'm trying to think about his mom as a parent, how traumatic for her to see her son now, so I'm not trying to bring us down, but we couldn't not mention Chris Oates doing what he did, and he tweeted out goal accomplished. So, before that, he was talking about, make the league, do this, do that. And now just stand up. And that's a huge accomplishment. So, there's sometimes
right now, man, that is amazing.
Sometimes we get on topics and there's so much stuff that we've forgotten to talk about. And sometimes we'll backtrack and get it. Sometimes we won't. This was one you can't not talk about this week. This can't wait till next week or the week after and we forget to talk about Chris Oates.
Yeah, I saw that video and it's very powerful. Like I told you, in the abstract, sports is dumb. Like we're not solving the world's problems with sports. It's just it's a fun leisure activity. However, there are moments that just kind of, whether it's Chris Oates walking again, other folks that have had traumatic injuries that come back out and different things like that. It's going back to that the triumph of the human spirit, where there's just, it's not even about wins and losses at that point. Y'all remember, I think it was the 92 Olympics, that track runner, he's running and he it's Achilles, it's his knee or whatever, right? He's worked all his life to get here. There's this video, his dad comes down out of the stands and brings him. See, I'm getting ready to tire about that now. But the security guard comes, the dad pushes him off, and him and his son cross the finish line, and they both just start crying. Those are those moments where we know the Olympics and the politics behind it, and it's all this kind of stuff, but you really boil it down to sometimes humans just giving their best. And that's what the Chris Oates situation is for us.
That's fantastic.
You done brought me down, Vinny.
Well, to bring it back up, another thing. Kentucky is the Sweet 16s are going on this week. It's the girls this week. Kentucky is 16 regions in the state. Small town, big city, it don't matter. Whoever wins the region goes to Rupp Arena. They draw out a bracket, and whoever wins. It's one state champion. It's not Class 6A, 5A, 4A in basketball. So the girls' Sweet 16 is going on. It started today. The boys is next week. The 13th region is where I'm from, Southeast Kentucky. So the school that I went is consolidated into a county school now, but I would have been in the 13th region. The winner of that 13th region is North Laurel. Their best player is Reed Shepard, son of Jeff Shepard. So I know you remember him.
Okay, yeah.
Reed committed to the state was, Kentucky fans like to worry a lot about stuff way more than they need to.
Like we're a poverty franchise. We worry.
Yeah. Back a few months ago, the worry was, well, first of all, will Cal offer Reed Shepard? There was a lot of angst about that. Mm-hmm. Cal offered. Then it was, will Reed commit to UK? There was a lot of angst about that. He commits to UK. So, they get worked up about all that kind of stuff. His team, North Laurel, had not won the 13th region. He's a sophomore this year. No, is it?
Junior.
Junior,
yeah.
This year. First 2 years, he had not won the region. Knox Central had won it. He hadn't, been getting knocked out. Been getting a lot of hype, getting knocked out. This year, they beat Knox Central. The team has been knocking them out of the regional finals every year. They beat Knox Central to advance to Rupp Arena next week to play in the state tournament. And there was a clip of Jeff in the crowd just boo-hooing because he's seen his son finally knock off this squad to get to the state tournament, to get to the Sweet 16. So watching his kid, and he's tearing up and he's just all the emotion coming out. So on a positive thing, like you said, I didn't mean to bring y'all down, but this TB, you've had memories, your girls duking it out, playing field hockey. Maybe you kind of welled up. Maybe you've had little things where, lots of parents have seen their kids do a lot of different things. So it's cool seeing that video of Jeff, who won at the highest level in this state and is still a legend, watching his son be able to go to his first state tournament. So that was positive tears for a happy nature.
Good times, man. Good times.
Absolutely. We doing the field hockey thing, and Big Miss, her high school team, finished state runner-up in field hockey this year. So we're looking to do a lot of we're starting this recruiting thing, man. We're going to be doing some trips and stuff and camps over the summer. So she'll be here in Iowa because Iowa's women's team is really, really good. On the same level with Louisville's, but we doing that, man. So yeah, watching your kids do something is great. Now for me, I tip my hat to Jeff Shepard because when the girls are playing basketball, I was basketball dad because basketball is my thing, and I'm trying to coach. I got the salt and pepper shaker, like this is how you need to do on pick and roll. So for me, it's been beneficial for them to pick up field hockey because I don't know anything about it. I cheer when the other parents cheer. Like that to me has been great. I just get to sit and go. If it was basketball, I would have notes. I would be, sit down. We're watching game film. This is how Isaiah Thomas did it. Like, I would be doing that. But with it being field hockey and lacrosse, I'm like, did the ball go in? Okay, good. Like, I cheer like I'm not.
I'm still trying to figure out how to score gymnastics. I don't even know how to take score. I just look, okay, yeah, good. That's great,
Yeah, I used to take the girls to the UK gymnastics meets, and they're like, "What? How does it work?" I'm like, "Well, you see, the thing is,
you score points somehow, right?"
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
What did you guys think? What did you guys think about the combine, the NFL combine?
Man,
Did
that
you watch
Davis
any of
kid,
that?
yeah, that Davis kid from Georgia. Like, usually, if you see somebody that big and they mad at you, you're like, "Well, I can outrun this dude." But now you got someone with like 340, 350 running a 8. Look, man, all you gotta do at that point is just pray. Like, what? I don't know what.
Right.
The combine, I think, can sometimes be overblown because we've seen a lot of dudes put up a lot of big numbers and it doesn't translate. Right? We've seen going back to the Tony Mandrich, again, dating ourselves. All these guys that are combine guys, but for me, it was just like you look at all those Georgia players. You're like, just watching Georgia play, you're like, that defense just looks fast. And then they get the stopwatch. They're like, oh, okay, that works.
Exactly. That's what we saw, and that's exactly what. Because you look at these guys, and you're like, man, imagine that guy. Because I mean, mass times acceleration, right?
Yeah.
So imagine the hit.
Right.
He's coming at you at that fast, that big. Oh man, no, I can't. His poor knees. I don't know. I mean, God must have built he must be a thing, because I don't know how you start. I don't understand the physics there of how you're running that fast at that size, and you can just stop on a dime. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this guy's going to be pushing through double teams in the NFL, getting to the quarterback, and I mean that's got to be a scary sight coming at you. That is a freight train coming at you.
Yeah.
And that's why they let the quarterback slide now.
Yeah,
because you got those people. Hey, I'm gonna give myself up. I'm not toughing out for an extra yard. Heck no. I mean, what do you do with someone that big and that strong running after you? Like, you've got to.
I don't know.
I mean, you look at like what Aaron Donald did. Like, ain't no human supposed to be able to do what he did. Those last 2 plays of the Super Bowl. You can't be blocked with a double team and then reach out and grab a running back running full speed. Like, that is Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. Like, that is not what's supposed to happen in real life. But they breed them like that.
SEC, man. There's so much talent. I mean, there's a guy, one of your offensive linemen, Darian Kennard. I think the Steelers are taking a hard look at him after the combine.
He's been solid. The offensive line, and that was the thing I think we touched on when you were talking about Kentucky getting to 10 wins. They were starting in the trenches. Yeah. Like the big blue wall has been the thing, even when we had questions at quarterback, questions at wide receiver, the running back, what was going to happen. But it was like, let's just get some dudes in the offensive line and we can kind of figure it out. And they have. And now you're sending dudes to the league from the offensive line that are setting all kinds of, is it the PFF, PPF rankings? I don't know. I should know all the analytics stuff.
The Pro Football Focus rankings,
yeah. So I see all this kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. So it's panned out.
I knew that Kentucky was doing something right. I'm a FWAA member and finally a national voter, but I've been voting on the Outland Trophy for quite a while, interior linemen and whatnot. And I knew that Kentucky was doing something right because I kept getting you get the preseason, hey, keep an eye on these guys. It's usually about 100 guys over all the FBS teams, basically 100 guys to start off with. And I'm like, man, there's like 3 Kentucky guys on here. So I knew, like, when you start seeing that, like, oh, I need to be watching Kentucky's line, that I knew that's when Stoops was doing something right. I was just like, okay, they're building the way he's building this team. He's building this team like from the inside out, which is what you used to do. That's traditional football, blocking and tackling. Because if you can get any quarterback that gets 5 or 6 seconds to get through his progressions, they're going to be pretty good. It's when you start getting those rushes in there. But if you can protect your quarterback for 5 or 6 seconds, you can make some passes. And if you have a mobile quarterback that can just, tuck it and run, after he gets through his progressions, then you have something dangerous. I started seeing Kentucky put something together. I was like, okay, this is going to work. This is going to work in today's game just as much as it would have worked, 30, 40 years ago, because they're doing it the right way. They're doing it. This is what football looks like. It doesn't always have to be spread offenses. I know everybody gotten into spread offenses and the defenses that are most effective against spread offenses or whatnot. But sometimes it's about third and short. And, being able to get those dudes up there like, hey, I need you to hit this B gap. Well, will there be a gap? Everybody's always talking about hitting the B gap, but if you can't get the guard to actually do his job and get some separation there, there's no gap to run through. But Kentucky's done a very good job over these last 5 years of stacking that line, and it just seems to get solid. They're, in my opinion, and I've been saying this for a little while, but in my opinion, Kentucky passed Tennessee about 3-4 years ago in the SEC East, and it might be permanent. I don't know. We'll see what happens. They're trying to come back. But I see them as one of the 3 teams in the SEC East now in football, not basketball, in football that are actually competing to go to Atlanta. And that's just a testament to Stoops. Best coach in the SEC, not namesake.
And that's a valid point. We've been saying that for a long time. When you look at the SEC East, like 8 out of 9 wins against Missouri, I think it's 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 9 against South Carolina.
Yeah,
Vandy is Vandy, obviously.
Right.
But Florida and Tennessee, I know Tennessee that head-to-head, and I don't know, Vinny, you get it being out there in Knoxville. But yeah, I know head-to-head, but they keep finishing above Tennessee. And,
every year.
Finishing second to this Georgia team, not the worst thing in the world. And even during that Georgia game, the offensive line held their own.
Yeah.
Now, it was the other positions where Georgia's talent was overmatched, but Kentucky was able to sustain some drives against Georgia that not a lot of other teams were able to do. And I know you don't want to reward mediocrity. Is that what they say? Or cheer mediocrity? But that's something you can hang your hat on. They scored a touchdown when it meant something against Georgia that not too many teams did.
Well, Clemson,
that game for it.
There were a lot of teams that didn't actually score on that defense or score a touchdown. I think there were like 5 games in the season and there wasn't anybody that scored a touchdown. When Clemson didn't, I was like, man, this is going to be a long year for these offenses up against this defense, because this defense looks like it's clicking. And it's always Georgia has one of those teams where, like, when are they going to put it all together? They have the recruits every year. When are they actually going to put all the pieces together and actually go out and win it? And this just happened to be their year to do that. But you see what Stoops is doing. Stoops is kind of like one of those. He's sneaking up. Have you ever looked? You're walking down a dark street and you look back and somebody's about 50 meters away. And then you take a few steps. You look back. They're like 40 meters away. You keep looking back, and Kentucky keeps getting closer and closer and closer. And all of a sudden, you're going to be in a dogfight trying to get to the SEC championship with this team. Stoops just keeps building it better and better and better. And I'm actually surprised at how fast, they kind of overtook this past decade, overtook Tennessee in terms of talent. I was looking at the combine. I was like, in the combine, you're usually looking at your first and second round picks. That's usually who's at the combine, first and second round picks. As a matter of fact, over the last 3-4 years, I don't think there's been any picks that haven't been in the combine in the first and second rounds. The only players that weren't at the combine were injured. There were 2 of them. But so you're basically looking at, high first and second round picks for the most part. And I started looking, I was like, Kentucky sent more players to the combine than Tennessee. And I don't think people are catching that. They're not looking at these other things that Kentucky is doing, to kind of surpass that program. They'll look to the head-to-head and be like, yay, we won this game. But the program itself, you can. There are a lot of different ways to rank a program, and one of the ways I always rank a program is what level of talent are you getting? B, with that talent, how many players are you developing that, the NFL wants? Because you can get a whole lot of talent and they come out underdeveloped, that the next level doesn't want them. That's, you might have a college program going on, but it's not really a football program. Nick Saban has a football program. He gets some of the highest level players. He brings that level up, and supports that level, and then sends them on to the NFL, which we see them playing at a high level there. And that's a football program, and he's also winning at the collegiate level. So you're starting to see, Mark Stoops start getting, the recruiting rankings are creeping up higher and higher and higher. There are more people going to the league. That's how you know that you have a football program going on. Because if the NFL scouts start looking at your players and say, yeah, I want that guy on my team. I want that guy on my team. Hey, who's Kentucky going to have? We need to bring those guys. When they start doing that, then you know that you're doing something right in that program. The wins will follow necessarily. There's a lot of luck that comes on the field, especially being able to get the right officiating crew in there to win. Sometimes you just need the right officiating crew to win.
You said it, not me. You said it.
But and I've watched SEC officials in there, man. We had some Mississippi State game. You saw how they messed that up in our favor. But I was like, yo, man, okay, we'll just pick this ball up and win this game. And they were complaining about it. I was like, those are your officials. Those are SEC officials. Yeah. But I understand now, just getting a little taste of that SEC officiating, man. It's kind of crazy. But sometimes you just need the right officials in the SEC to win some of those games. And you're starting to get players in and out of that program, and is building. I've been pleasantly surprised, even since I've left Louisville, that to watch that program kind of build up and build up and build up to what it is now.
And it was a slow burn. My whole thing is you can be like some of these teams and go from 2 wins to 10 wins, but that usually means the NCAA is coming shortly thereafter, right? Like you've done something, and the way Stoops has done it, it hasn't been glamorous. The 2 wins, the 5 wins, it's been slow, it's been steady, it's been facility upgrades, it's been recruiting upgrades, it's spending more on coaches. It's Liam Cohen going back to the Rams to be the offensive coordinator. Folks checked with me because we brought in a couple of guys from the 49ers on the staff, and I'm like, look, whatever you think about the 49ers on the offensive side, those 2 guys we brought in, Vinny, they got Jimmy G to the NFC Championship game. So whatever you think about that's all I'm going to say is this is what we did with this dude. So they should be able to help with the offense. So I'm excited about that moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a solid program, man. Especially because I was there during the Joker Phillip days. I was like, man, I want you to win, and he kind of like cracked the ice. I think he beat Tennessee for the first time in forever. But that I was just like, man, here's this program, and I know it could be better. And they're hanging their hat on. We beat Tennessee for the first time in forever, and I'm like, man, this program could be better. I wonder. And then all of a sudden, a Stoops brother comes up, takes the helm, and a few years later, I shouldn't say a few. What is it? 7 years now? 6, 7 years later? Maybe 8. Is this his 8th year?
Yeah, he might be going 8 and 9, 2013 or from this first.
Yeah, maybe 8 or 9 years now. All of a sudden you kind of surpassed a stalwart that was in the SEC East in Tennessee, and now they're on the. They're looking around like, man, well, at least we can still beat Kentucky. We can hang our hat on that. It's like the whole it's like the whole thing changed. Like they have
It flip flop. Absolutely.
They have no aspirations for an SEC championship. They're just hoping to beat Kentucky every year. And I'm just like, man, I can't. If you would have asked me that in 2010 when I was up there, I'd have been like, man, that's something I would love to see. But here we are talking about it. It's already happened. It's already happened. We've seen 2 10-win seasons, which is what, that's all that was the talk up there. One day they're going to have a 10-win season, and all of a sudden we've seen a couple now. So now it's, there's the foundation. Now you can actually put together something where now it's time to put something together to try and beat Georgia, to try and beat Florida consistently and try to beat Georgia and get to the SEC championship.
Absolutely.
We have had you on here and bragged on you before. I've said it before, just on your show, which we talk about, Sports Radio American Network, College Credit Hour, how TB and I will hit a bunch of topics. We'll kick around a couple of topics and move on and get nostalgic about something. TB will go his soapbox about something. We'll have a couple guests on. But as far as just going in detailed on one particular mini topic of a topic, and you'll do a segment on it. You do 2 segments on it. You'll do a whole hour on it if you want to. I'm like, I don't know how Memphis can just stay on one thing and do an hour and it'd be compelling to listen to. When me and you, we don't moved on TV to something else. Memphis will dive in and get to the minutia of it and pull up stats on it. And like I said, you'll do half your show. You do an hour on whatever that topic is. If you get on it, or if a caller asks you something, that's just
I just love the details of sports, and thank God that I have an audience of boosters and really intelligent sports fans that kind of want to go a little bit deeper than the cover of sports, kind of want to jump into and dig into some of those numbers, dig into, okay, this happened, but why? Because that's what, I a lot of times, things that interest me, I'm looking for the audience that, does this interest you too? Do you want to know this? Because somebody will ask me a question that I can't answer in one of these group chats and Twitter, or just maybe even out just randomly. And I'm like, I don't know. Let me find out. And that'll be a topic for my show. But sometimes those are how the topics are formed. Sometimes the minutia, I'll be like, hey, look at this. And I'm starting to put things together. Because, in real life, I'm an analyst. And, I'm always analyzing stuff, whether or not it's legal analyst, financial analyst, whatever. I'm always analyzing stuff. And that's how I kind of got into like a whole lot of analyzing different things and aspects of sports. Because there's a lot of people who are statisticians and they're just looking at the numbers. But I want to see what those numbers mean before they hit the paper. I want to actually be able to analyze the game with my eyes. And over the years, I've gotten pretty good at seeing something before it actually, before you actually have a paper trail of it. And that's why I was able to come on here and tell you, hey, I'm starting to see this Kentucky football team build to something great. If they continue on this trajectory, they're going to hit that. And, if I can do that in the stock market, which I have a couple of times, then I can do that in football as well. I can see the future of where this is going. If they continue to do these things, they're on a path to success. And that's just kind of me. That's my nature. I like to do that type of stuff. But you guys are the legends, though. You guys are the legends. Terry's a legend. Vinny's a legend. Man, I'm telling you, man, I'm in some of these other SEC chats, and he was like, yeah, man, I was listening to Cat Talk Wednesday. I was like, I bet you were. I bet you were listening to some Cat Talk Wednesday. And some of the guys that were in the spaces are some of the guys that I'm in some of these group chats with. I'm like, why don't you have your legends in this group chat? But it's a wild world out there in Twitter or whatnot, and we have some of the same. Like Michelle's always listening to either of our shows.
She says hello, by the way. She tweeted in to tell you hello.
I don't know how she does anything else because I know she listens to 20 hours of Kentucky theme radio
Right.
on top of everything else she listens to.
Yeah.
And I used to think she was just making it up. I was like, hey, but she'll tweet at you something, some little throwaway. I'm like, oh, that was a deep cut. Like that was just me rambling. So, like you said,
or sometimes I'll be talking about something, and I'll be talking about a stat like, who was that? Who what was who was on that Jamal Mashburn, and it'll just come through like, oh, okay, yeah, it was, he was on that team or whatnot. She knows her stuff, and she knows she's a super fan, and she's always listening. I don't know how. She is always listening.
Absolutely.
Always and forever. She's been our number one fan.
So what you got coming up, man, on the College Credit Hour, Sports Radio American Network? You got some special guests. You got some
tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna have SK Patrick. He's our new managing editor at Sports Radio America. Julian was our editor for a long time until COVID, and then the military decided to take up more of his time. So we have a new managing editor, SK Patrick. He's going to be on. He's been a writer for us for I think 5-6 years, and then he started becoming the lead writer on the ACC. Now he's the managing editor. But we're going to be talking about the ACC, how many teams they're likely to send to the tournament, how many, what the expectations are now that Duke lost that game. There's some vulnerabilities that we've seen with Duke here lately that we didn't know existed, and it's shown up with North Carolina and Virginia here lately. And whether or not, what kind of impact that's going to have, that should be a pretty good show tomorrow. And then I'm going to have my man Rick Saratella, NFL Draft Bible. Now, this guy probably has some of the best information out there in terms of NFL recruiting and drafting. And I've been following him for a while. He just celebrated his 20-year anniversary, and during COVID worked out some sort of deal where he's with, I think his properties with Sports Illustrated now. But we've been seeing each other at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl annually. Had him on the actual broadcast this year. But I'm going to have him on because he usually has the inside track on what the other scouts are saying. Because he's always supplying information to all these NFL teams and all these scouting directors across the NFL because he has some of the best of it. And he usually has the inside track on what's being said about the players throughout the process. And sometimes he'll hear something at a pro day, or he's a world of knowledge, and I'm probably going to have him on along with Queen Brigé on Monday. So we keep it rolling there on Sports Radio America. A lot of great shows.
All your guests do, but Queen brings it every single time she comes on.
All the time.
She is
one
a
of
heavy
the
hitter.
most knowledgeable reporters, period. Not female. One of the most knowledgeable reporters, period. She can hang out. She can hang with anybody on a moment's notice. Was trying to, she said the other day, she was like, man, people don't even know about Bill Russell. They're having all these, top 5 lists. I'm like, wait, where's Bill Russell at? Why don't you got Bill Russell on this bad boy? So, it's she knows her stuff. She knows her stuff.
And she sounded just a little bit like Wanda Sykes. She got a little Wanda Sykes.
I'm gonna tell her that because first of all, she's a fan of Wanda Sykes. But I'm gonna tell her that. She'll probably be like, yo, I think I'm doing something right then. I'm doing something right.
For sure. And so for those that don't know, tell everybody when you broadcast and where they can find you. And
Sports Radio America Network. COVID hit us hard, no lie. We had to give up some shows and try and get those to other homes before while COVID was going on. But we still have 3 primary shows. Mine's one of them, the College Credit Hour, noon to 2 Eastern. We're doing that Mondays and Thursdays. Lenny is still broadcasting out of Houston. H-Town Sports Talk with Lenny Moon. He has on a lot of the greats. Had Jerry Levias on there the other day. I mean, with the first Black scholarship athlete in the Southwest Conference, just live talking about, when he walked into the into the locker room, and Dr. King met him. And I'm sitting there just like, I can't believe this is being broadcast on this network. History. So much history out of his program. And then we have John Lunn out of New York. And he still does he's the producer for the ACC network for SiriusXM, but still produces a show for us here on Sports Radio America. Also, he was primarily here, and then we got him a spot up there, because COVID. But he still produces a show. He broadcasts at 8 p.m. And he does his show, I believe, on Friday at 8 is usually when his show airs. So a lot of good programming still there on Sports Radio America. I'm just happy to be able to hang out with these Kentucky legends, Terry and Vinny, every now and then. Whenever I can get on, I'm going to try and get on.
You were one of our first guests, big guests, forever and ever ago. So we certainly want to reciprocate that and show some love.
Absolutely, and I need to get both of you guys on soon.
Yeah.
Both of you.
Yeah. I love to talk, and Vinny. Every time I look up, Vinny's doing something else. That's the beauty is Vinny's doing all kinds of stuff. I'll be guessing. My mom's gonna get me, Vinny. I'm guessing on stuff, but we always come together on Wednesdays and do our thing, and it's been
what started all right here, man. This is, even if we do branch out and do this or do that, it wouldn't even happen if we hadn't started this little thing.
It's kind of like Method and Redman, right? Like we got our own thing, but we come together, we make it happen.
That's right. Got to do your own album, every now and then branch out. But when we get together and do that album, woo,
that's right. Always fire, Vinny.
Hey, you already know. Man, can't thank you enough, Memphis, man. And look, appreciate tell the missus hello, the better half hello.
No doubt.
Glad you was free on a Wednesday to hop on with us. And looking forward to what you bring in tomorrow when you broadcast, man. But like I said,
thanks for hopping on the Spaces last night too. I appreciate that. You got to see.
When I have some time and I can, I'm going to jump in there, man. I love to hear. And people are asking me, well, why don't you talk more? I'm like, no, I'm here listening to you. I talk for a living. I'm here to listen to. I want to hear what you guys have to say. This is a perfect time where I get to sit here and just kind of, sit in the community and listen to, people what people have to say, what their qualms are, what their questions are, because every now and then there's a question. I'm like, I wonder what the answer to that is. That can be a topic for my show.
Yeah, it's always fun. We love to do it, and have folks come. You like you said, you got your show. I was like, look, I'm talking every Wednesday. Y'all need to say something too, and there's always some nuggets to get dropped. So we appreciate that. Thank you, Memphis, for coming on. We still gonna represent the 901, baby.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Ted, give your mom some love too. Give your mom some love.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Mama B's doing awesome. She's doing real good. So
that's good. That's good. All right, gentlemen.
All right, appreciate it, Memphis.
Yes, sir. Memphis, appreciate you. Memphis Spence, College Credit Hour, Sports Radio America Network. He is the program director, voting on the football writers and got all kind of ballots and doing all kind of stuff. But yeah, man, hopping on here, dropping knowledge. I got to get into Spaces. I'm kind of hit and miss. Sometimes I got to get up early and I'll be done crashed out and don't make it. But I got to hop in there with y'all when I can too. I missed it last night though.
Well, we're going to do one on Sunday. After the brackets come out, we're going to do a Spaces and talk through the brackets. I know specifically, Kentucky's path to number 9, but we're going to go through all the regions and everything like that. It's always fun, 40, I think we had, maybe 30 people last night, but 40, 50 people come on there. It's always fun. Yeah. We got to talk about the NFL.
Uh-huh.
We got to talk about Aaron Rodgers. And look, I'm not going to say anything because it's not my money. It's not my money, right? But that's an awful lot of money to pay to someone that can't beat Jimmy Garoppolo in a playoff game. Now, if you want to pay Matthew Stafford, because he can beat Jimmy G in the playoffs, all right. If you want to pay Patrick Mahomes that kind of money, good, because he can beat Jimmy G in the playoffs. But paying all that money to Dak Prescott, paying all that money to Aaron Rodgers, that's a lot of money to be paying folks that cannot beat Jimmy G. The man who threw an interception in the Super Bowl with his eyes closed, and the man who threw a backwards lateral in the NFC Championship game.
Oh man. I was rolling when I saw them because I knew you was
I put it on the Packers fans. But the thing is, they can't say nothing.
That's right.
I had somebody say to me, "Oh, you thought Jimmy G was the reason that they won?" That ain't what I said. What I said was, you can't beat Jimmy G.
That's true, man.
But good for the Packers. Look, man, like I've been saying for years, every offseason of my adult years, going back to the 90s, has been, what is the Green Bay Packers quarterback going to do? And it just, as Packers fans, don't y'all get tired of that? Don't y'all just get tired? Like,
see what you did when you got hurt, Don Mikowski. See what you started.
Exactly.
Stay healthy and finish out your career. We wouldn't be doing this.
At least your Cowboys, they made that transition from Romo to Dak. All right, good. And we don't have to every year. Is Dak coming back? Is Dak happy? Is Dak sad? And we do it all the time. What is Ed Werder down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, watching planes land? And the last few years is Aaron Rodgers. Is he going to do Wheel of Fortune? Is he going to do Jeopardy? Is he going to bring back Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Well, maybe he's going to star in a TV show. Like, look, come on.
Olivia Munn, Danica Patrick. Is he going to marry anybody?
Yes. Who's his girlfriend? Come on, man. Like, come on, Packers fans. Y'all deserve better than that. Does the dude want to be there or not? But the issue is, and I've had some Packers agree, that Bomani Jones brought up, building your offense pass first when your home field is Lambeau Field doesn't make sense.
They just double down on it now, and I guess that means they're gonna bring Devontae Adams back, so they're gonna run it back and keep trying.
But throwing the ball around, and if you look back at when Favre was really, really good, they had Dorsey Levens, they had some running backs, they had Armand, like they had a running game because you have to have it in January in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You can't throw the ball 40 times.
Edgar Bennett, right, when he up there too.
Yeah. When the ground's frozen, you can't do that. And how do I know? Because, when we were growing up, the Packers were undefeated at home in the playoffs. Nobody wanted to go to Lambeau because the Packers would run the ball. And now they switched to pass happy. Now you got Mike Vick walking in there with a win. You got Eli Manning coming out with a win. You got Jimmy Garoppolo coming out with a win. You got all this stuff, and but look, it's not my money. Do what makes you happy. Russell Wilson getting traded to the Broncos. The Broncos think that's their recipe is getting a slightly older quarterback and seeing what happens. Good on you. I mean, the thing is, the NFC West is just as tough as the NFC West. So, do you think that you're going to beat out Patrick Mahomes? You're going to beat out Herbert for the Chargers? I mean, that's tough. That's tough sledding.
Derek Carr ain't horrible. You can do worse than Derek Carr if you.
They were in the playoffs this year, so
that was when you had Drew Lock before that. I guess I'd go after Russell too if I was anyway.
But for Russ, I'm saying he's leaving the NFC West, which has been competitive these last few years. To the AFC West, it's going to be tough. Now, Seattle's going to be doo-doo, which is going to be good.
Bobby Wagner getting released, so it's offensive and defensive.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. I'm tired of Seattle fans and this new money. We got a Super Bowl. You got one? Get out of my face. We got one Super Bowl and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
I know I'm petty.
that gets you feisty. But Denver fans bringing in the guy that that's who boat raced them before they won that Super Bowl. Because
Yeah.
that Super Bowl in New York was a disaster. It started out, they snapped it over Peyton's head, and it was just over as soon as it started. And so now they bring in the guy that was on the other side of that, and it might not mean they're going to win the division, like you said, when you look at that division. But I don't know. Elway got to do something because he, as a quarterback, his eye for talent since he's been in that position has been terrible. Because but Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch,
and the tall quarterback too. Who was that tall quarterback they had?
Mark Osweiler.
Yeah. He's tall. He's 6 foot. Like that's too tall.
This dude John Elway has brought in to quarterback his beloved Broncos. Those are the names.
Well, and you can say, and this happens, because you were a great player does not mean you can be a great coach, and it certainly doesn't mean you can't be a good or passable executive.
Yeah,
the list of great players to great coach to great executive, it's very, very small. I mean, obviously, you look at Jerry West and what he was able to do. Which have you watched the HBO The Winning Time? It's about the Los Angeles Lakers and Showtime. I figured you might want to check it out. It's the team of our youth. As we were growing up in the 80s, Vinny, the Lakers were winning 5 championships in 9 seasons. So I thought you might, take it back to your youth and watch that.
I don't even know if I had that. I can just see if I got that. Is it Showtime or HBO? I don't even know what it is.
HBO. I'll give you a login HBO because I really want you to learn about your Lakers history. I think it's very important that you.
Which is what makes me not want to watch it. I respected y'all, but I couldn't stand y'all or the Celtics because that's who it was every year. I had Lakers and Celtics fatigue, and so But I mean, I'm curious to see what you think about it. That's why I sent you the link to Perlman, your boy, who was on the podcast with Rome, because they were talking all about it and kind of diving into it. So I'm curious to see what you think about, because they brought dude's book to life. So I can't wait to listen to the podcast.
I read the book when it came out a couple years ago, whatever. I can't remember now, but I read the book and I'm all in on this because it was one of those things where, the Lakers fatigue, right? We get that.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but you have said you've got Lakers fatigue.
It's a real chronic thing, man, for us. It's a real chronic thing for us, other people.
I understand. I like seeing the Lakers in the finals. It means the world is back to normal. But there's so many good nuggets in the book that as I'm reading it, I'm like, man, the book is well written just in general. Perlman's a great writer, so I'm going to listen to that podcast, and I'm saving up. I have not watched the show yet, but it's one of those they're going to release every Sunday, I think. I'm going to wait so I can watch like 2 or 3 episodes, just kind of binge it, as the kids say. Because I'm excited about it. Just in the clips, Jerry Buss understanding that this is LA. We've got some built-in advantages to being in LA. We're going to have the hottest club in the town in the same building as our basketball team, kind of thing. So, I mean, look, I love Jerry Buss. He was single. He enjoyed the nightlife. Like, he enjoyed being the owner of the Lakers. And for me, it is taking it back to olden times when it was just like family owned or one guy owned, instead of these conglomerate that own all these teams now. Where it's not just about, like, Jerry Buss wanted to win. That was above all else. And I don't know, as we look at like the baseball lockout, do these owners want to win or do they want to make money? Now you can make money without winning.
Yeah.
That's obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
We saw Donald Sterling do that with the Clippers. Like, how the Clippers work this much and they are doo-doo? Like, what is going on here? So if you've got an ownership group that actually wants to win, that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of these folks want to make money. Winning,
Right.
So if you get some owners that actually want to build and do things to win, that's a benefit. And Dr. Buss wanted to win.
Yeah. I'm curious too, spoiler alert. I mean, I'm not trying to give it in the way, but Perlman said that Jeannie's reaction to the book and the actual show has been different. And I thought that was interesting when he answered that. So you'll get to that when you listen to the podcast. But I thought that was interesting as well. When all it is his book being brought to the screen, but her reaction to each one was different. So I thought that was interesting.
Did she not like the book?
Said she liked the book, but she's been kind of not responding, not talking to him about the movie. But she liked the book and read the book, but he ain't heard nothing from her about this Showtime production. I'm like,
It'll be interesting. Because like I said, I thought the book was fair and accurate. It didn't hide all of the underbelly. Like Jerry Buss probably should not have been able to purchase the Lakers. He had to call in a lot of favors and do a lot of things to purchase the Lakers because Jack Kent Cooke, who owned the Washington football team, owned the Lakers.
Wow.
And so Dr. Buss had to call in a lot of favors to get the money to buy the Lakers. And part of it was you got ownership of the Forum as well. And that's how the nightclub, it was basically he needed revenue streams is what it was. And so you got the nightclub, you get the Lakers girls. Like, basically, look, we're in LA. We've got to put on a show. Like, being good at basketball is not bringing people in. Like, we got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the turnstiles ain't turning.
Yeah.
So what can we do on top of good basketball to bring people in, especially in LA? Like we've talked before, LA fans get a lot of flack, but there's so much to do in LA. It's so spread out. It's so big. There's a lot going on. And like I've told people, the Lakers and the Dodgers, the two oldest LA franchises, it took them a while to get traction. And they were good from the jump. Like the Dodgers won the World Series the next year after they moved. And the Lakers went to the finals and lost to the Celtics, 8 straight times or whatever it was. So the teams were good, but you still have to do something to be must-see TV. Now, as the Lakers look toward a rebuild or whatever they're going to do this year, look, I told you, I'm fine with the Lakers doing whatever. LeBron had 56. Good for him. If AD comes back healthy, we'll see. We'll see how this team goes. I told you in the offseason, I don't like the way this team is constructed. It's a bunch of guys that were good in 2008. Like, how is it going to work? I don't think it's going to work, but we will see. And it hasn't. But as I had a little back and forth with our man Kendrick Haskins from Wave 3 in Louisville. I'm like, look, I don't know what the Lakers will do. I just know they will end up at some point with 2 of the top 10 players in the league, and they'll figure it out because that's what they've always done. And his thing was, well, they get young players, they develop them. And I said, to trade. That's how you get Wilt for a bunch of young kids. That's how you get Kareem for a bunch of young kids. That's how you get AD for a bunch of young kids. Like, that's just how it goes. The Lakers fans aren't going to sit through a rebuild. Like, that's just not going to happen. When you look back to after Magic retired in 94, 95, that's when Ced Ceballos was an all-star. Eddie Jones was an all-star. Nick Van Exel was an all-star. You still had Vlade Divac. But those guys aren't superstars.
No.
And that's when Jerry West looked around like, let's go get Shaq. Like, because the Laker fan base, Brandon Ingram has been playing well. Lonzo Ball's playing well now. That ain't what people are going to, not Staples, Crypto Arena to see.
Oh, that's right.
If you in LA, you are not going to spend money on a ticket to go watch Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram run the weave. Like, that's not going to do it. Like LeBron yelling at fans, oh, okay, I'll go see that. Russell Westbrook get into it, folks. I'll go see that. The Lakers thrive on that, and they always have. And that's my point to folks is that's just what they do. Some fan bases will tolerate a rebuild or a bunch of young kids that are plucky up-and-comers. That ain't the way it works, man. Like, it's Kentucky basketball. Coach Cal can't bring in a bunch of 2-stars and talk about, they playing hard. Yeah. That's not going to cut it. Mm-hmm. It didn't work, it hasn't worked since Rupp. You can't just be out here with some plucky underdogs. Now, I know, like you talked about the unforgettables and the hometown kids, it helped to have Jamal Mashburn.
Yeah.
You gotta, we love those guys. They stuck with us through thick and thin, but having Jamal Mashburn on your team helps. Mm-hmm. So if you're Kentucky, like, you can't just be out here, we playing hard, running the Princeton offense. That won't cut it. People ain't coming to Rupp for that. Mm-hmm. We're not coming to see teams that play real hard and play the right way. No, you need some dudes. You need some player of the year candidates. You need some all SEC, all Americans. That's what this is about. And that's what the Lakers are about. Like, I know your Rockets, they're very young. They've been kind of up and down. It just wouldn't fly. And I'm not, poo-pooing your Rockets, but that kind of rebuild, it doesn't fly.
Mm-hmm.
So
true.
You love it when I talk about the Lakers too. I see the joy in your face when I'm talking about LA. Even when they're terrible, I still always manage to get 20 minutes out of the Lakers.
Man, can you go ahead and text me that login, man? I might just go ahead and,
I'm excited, man. Like I said, I'm going to watch it.
Peep at it. Yeah, so I knew I had to send you that podcast. I knew you was excited, and yeah, so Perlman, and he was seem honored at the fact that this book he's getting to watch his book play out, and spoiler alert, he's even kind of an extra in the show. So and some of his family members. So you get to look forward to that too. So
yeah, the background on that though is Will Ferrell and his like production buddy Adam McKay, who's doing this, they fell out based on this series because Ferrell wanted to play Dr. Buss, and they had a falling out about that. So, but I'm excited. Like I said, I'm gonna let another episode drop, and I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, I was cool to learn up the guy the coach before Westhead. I didn't know nothing about him. Didn't know how that happened with him with the bike accident and all that. Jack. Yeah. So I learned a lot of stuff. As much as I hate the Lakers, I learned some stuff, TB, and I was actually paying attention and soaking up him getting hurt and not coaching again. And then Westhead ran his offense that first championship. And so I didn't know about any of that. So
yeah, and then Magic took the brunt to get Westhead out and get Riley in. Yeah, it's, just reading all that. And, look, I'm a Magic fan unabashedly. And, he did some things that, he probably would take back. I think that's about how most of us would act. But, yeah, the Lakers aren't above, little backdoor dealings and all this kind of stuff. As we talked about with Memphis, old enough to remember. I'm old enough to remember when it was Tragic Johnson, when he came up short in the 84 finals. Like, that's why, debating people's legacies while they're still playing is you don't know how this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Coach K's first 10 years and you'd be like, oh, wow, underwhelming. You don't know how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
When people figure it out.
That's it. So got to give people time, give people a chance, just like we started off with Kyra Elsie, and how the perception of her has changed in a month. Just because people kind of rushed to kick dirt on her, and and now she's cutting down nets in Nashville. Wow. So hey, calm down. Like I said, we don't really panic. We didn't panic about her. We didn't obsess about Shaden Sharp. We ain't said a word about Sky Clark decommit. None of that stuff. All these are topics, but we just kind of, recruiting classes. We bring on guys who cover that, and okay, you tell us what you know. All right, and then that's just how we do it, man.
The same people, this was funny. I was, on the Twitter streets, the Florida game on Saturday. And people, a lot of Kentucky fans. Oh my goodness, it's the last game of the year. But you're the same people that kept bringing up the 9-win season last year. Same folks that are worried about recruiting for next year. I've always been enjoy this team. Yes. What we're seeing Oscar Tshiebwe do is historic. Most rebounds in the season in my lifetime, going back 50 plus years. Mm-hmm. And it's like, come on, like enjoy this team. We've got the player of the year. We've got a legit shot for the next couple of weeks. Let's just focus on the here and now. Let's just focus. I will worry about next year gonna come, and I will worry about that then. When whoever's on campus, who's ever on the roster, I will worry about that then. But focus on the right now.
And I've always said it, and I will continue to feel this way. I feel that the 2012 title wasn't celebrated long enough. I felt everybody moved on from that too quickly. It was banner was still swaying in the rafters, and it was let's get number 9. And so if this season doesn't end the way everybody hopes for, if it's a deep run but it's not a championship, I'm still gonna go back and watch the Kansas game. I'm gonna watch the Tennessee game at home. I'm gonna watch the Alabama game at home. There's a ton of moments. Because, like you just said, just coming off of 9-16, there are a ton of games this year that were just fun to watch. You're always tweeting out, "This is fun. This is fun." You tweet it out on Twitter when it's a run. Kentucky goes on 16-2 run, blows the game open. You tweet it out. Shout out to the Ravon Sports app when we're co-hosting the chat on Ravon. This is fun. Just 3 words. This is fun.
It is absolutely fun. And like Memphis said, Kentucky, you have to work hard as a Kentucky fan to be miserable. Like you just have to work at it. People like, oh, I hope we catch a break. What are you talking about? Like, I
don't want to be in with Duke or Purdue, or I don't want to see them until the final.
Look, man, if you're going to win 6 games in March, you got to beat some good teams. No team has gotten, since the field expanded to 64 back in 86, no team has won 6 games and played nobody.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't work like that.
Whatever the opposite of chalk is, nobody has ever.
Yeah, no one is keep playing the lowest seed available. Like you're not going to play a number 16 seed in the championship game. It's just not in the cards, right? So you got to play teams. And, as a Kentucky fan, if you are focused on the misery versus the good things in March, yes, the Duke Christian Laettner shot, it can still hurt. I get you. But we got Aaron Harrison shot. Like we've got Brandon Knight. We've got all these other things that you can point to and say, it's pretty good to be a Kentucky fan. I said it. I saw that was shirt, and I can't remember who it was. Kentucky fans love T-shirts. Kentucky basketball makes me drink. And I'm like, champagne? If Kentucky basketball makes you drink to drown your sorrows, then what do you do with the rest of your life? Like, I see a lot of these young Laker fans. Woe is us. All right, use. All right, like, calm it down. Have a little bit of perspective. Like I told you, when the Niners lost the NFC Championship game, I've been fortunate enough to see my teams win multiple championships in my lifetime.
Yeah.
I mean, we joke about Super Bowl 23, where Jerry Rice was the MVP, 11 catches, 215 yards, and a touchdown. But I remember that game. I remember the 55-10 against Denver. I remember the 56 or was it 46-20, whatever it was against
Chargers.
San Diego, the Chargers. Man. I remember that one. I remember that. I remember 96. I remember 98. I remember 2012. But I also remember other teams that were really, really good. And that's what sports should be about. Championship or bust is just a poor attitude. I remember, the Terrell Owens catch against Green Bay in the playoffs, the catch too. Like, that's not a Super Bowl memory. I think we lost the next game, maybe to you guys. I can't remember. But I remember that. That's what sports is also about. If you're like, well, the 2011 team didn't win. They just made it to the Final Four. Well, yeah, but I ain't never screamed louder than I did when Brandon Knight dotted Aaron Kraft's eye.
Yeah.
And if you're a Kentucky fan and you talking about how 2014 was a disappointment, I'm through with it, dude. Like, back 3 shots back to back. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's just
like, there's got to be more than the championships. But if you're all about championships, Kentucky still got more than everybody except one. Like, come on. You can't be disappointed with that. But like Memphis said, sometimes you borrow trouble and all that kind of stuff. So I'm off my soapbox about that. We're gonna have fun. The Cats gonna win down in I was gonna say Nashville, but down in Tampa they're gonna win, and they're gonna win wherever they go in the tournament. Like, let's go, because we got an Oscar. Like, we got somebody that can rebound. He's showing some offensive game. We got Ty that can get buckets. When Severe is stirring the drink,
his stroke has improved dramatically. He's hitting threes. It's not just a layup. He's hitting jumpers and confidently taking jumpers. Not just, I got to throw this up because it's a shot clock. Oh, they swinging it at me and I'm open and I'm rising up and pulling. And it's a big difference in his jumper.
Yeah, and if you look at this roster, this team is built for this. You factor out, okay, they're not going to be playing any road games, so you don't have to worry about that. But this team is just ready. When you start checking off boxes, do you have guards that can dribble and penetrate? Yes. Do you have shooting? Yes. Do you have a dominant inside force? Yes. Like, bring it, man. Like, there may be some teams that have an advantage of this place and that place, but they also have to deal with where Kentucky is strong. And having Oscar out there is he's a game plan changer.
Sure is.
That we haven't had in a long time.
He's relentless.
Yeah.
Dre Edwards relentless. Oscar the same way.
Yeah. He just, I tweeted out, I think I put it on the Rave on it, like, trying to rebound against Oscar Tshiebwe doesn't seem fun. Like, doing it for 30 minutes doesn't seem fun at all. And you can see in the second half of a lot of these games, these dudes don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that Castleton for Florida, at some point, he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this doesn't seem fun. Like, I
tip my cap to Jalen Williams in Arkansas because he made plays down the stretch that helped him. Because I tweeted out, and Old Takes Exposed could have got me if they wanted to, because Oscar got a putback, moved him out the way, scored on him, and Jalen Williams took the ball out of the net and had his head down and was beaten. And I tweeted out, I said, that man's defeated. That man is defeated. Now, he came back and hit some jumpers and drove in and made some plays. Tip my cap, because dude found his second win somewhere. But
yeah,
he's been like the exception to the rule. Because when you go 40 against Oscar, it's like you work, 12 hours in the coal mines. You drag.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't seem fun.
Somebody take my shoes off and let me sit on the couch and take a nap. That's the way most people normally are. I'm gonna run through real quick because next time we're on, the champion will already be decided. So, like I mentioned, it is the girls' Sweet 16. They done already had some games in Rupp Arena. We had Pikeville playing Cooper, McCracken County playing Southwestern, Henderson County playing Franklin County. Bullitt East beat Bethlehem 67-50. Boyd County and Meade County played. Meade County won that 53-46. Bowling Greens playing Letcher County Central. Corbin's playing George Rogers Clark. Sacred Heart out of Louisville. The Fighting Anna Tarulos are playing Anderson County. I believe they're defending champs too, and they just been rolling people. And let's see, is there another score? Southwestern beat McCracken County. Did I say that one? Yeah, Southwestern beat McCracken County. Bullet East won, Meade County won. So congratulations to them, and congratulations to whoever we'll be talking about next week that wins the girls' Sweet 16, Mingy Beef Jerky girls' Sweet 16. And the boys will get started next week, and we'll be able to see what Reed Shepherd's going to do and all the other teams that are up in there. So it's that time of year. Our guy Cameron Mills is always on the mic for a couple of those games. He's on the call with usually the voice of Eastern or Western or Murray or whoever they bring in there to pair up with him.
Yeah,
because Tom Leach is out and about covering the Cats still. Sometimes Paul Rogers is in there too. The voice of the Cardinals will be calling some of those games with an old former coach or something like that. So it's that time of year already, man. March Madness is up in here, and it's here we go.
We've already seen some buzzer beaters in the tournament. We've already seen shout out to Bellarmine.
Yes,
for winning the ASUN championship, even though they bizarrely can't go to the tournament, the NCAA tournament, which I don't understand the machinations of that. But Scotty Davenport's got a really good thing going on in Bellarmine. So tip my hat. They might be the third best team in the state.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned them because they're right there in your city, and
yeah,
he's been there forever and just constantly keeps them at a high level. So yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, they transitioned a couple years ago from D2 to D1 and winning a championship. So yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff for the city.
And it's just so weird. Jacksonville or Jacksonville State or whatever. It's like, thanks, Bellarmine. Appreciate y'all because we got a ticket to the dance now.
I think it's Jacksonville State that's going. I don't like I said, I don't understand all the details, but whatever. But congrats to Bellarmine for doing something that, hey, tip my hat to him.
Absolutely. And thanks to La Terrain Watches, Play Action Pools, for helping also partner up with us, and BS3 TV, BS3 Network with Ben Sutters III. And just give our thoughts and prayers to Ben's wife, Erica, who had some surgery today. So hopefully everything went well with his better half, because that's always stressful. So hopefully she'll be okay as well. So we squeeze in all kind of fun stuff. Thanks to our man Memphis Spence and him coming in, bringing knowledge, and we just enjoyed chopping it up with him, and him seeing how great Kentucky football was going to be, and
before we started,
just kind of helping us embrace that. Oh, this team's going to be good. We're going to be good in football. This is new. Here we go. So thanks to Memphis, thanks to UTV. Stay warm, stay safe. Hope the dental work is all right. I got to get a little piece put back in next week. A little crown. They got to glue some. It's a little gap they got to fill.
So,
yeah, all that stuff. But we'll get through it and hopefully be back again next Wednesday. It's March Madness here, y'all. Cats be rolling. We'll see what we'll be talking about. Another 50-11th. It's the tournament championship. And they're getting ready for the NCAA tournament, man. So
absolutely. Thanks to Memphis, and we'll do it again next week, Vinny.
Absolutely. Appreciate everybody. Y'all check us out where you get your podcast or on Roku TV. Watch us on your device, and we'd appreciate it. So from my man TV, this is Vinny Hardy. Another episode of Cast Talk Wednesday. We'll holler at y'all next week.